Hello and welcome back to our fourth late night episode here at the Higher Density Living Studios. We've now moved into the next day.
We're in the next day.
We're in the next day. You know, I'm usually sleeping right now, but I texted you. I was like, we got a podcast.
I know. I love it. I was
feeling
in.
It. I was really, after my group meditation night, I'm like, I'm feeling it. Like,
I think it's awesome. It's kind of quiet. There's nothing going on. We don't have our phones blowing up.
I hate the phone.
Yeah, dude. Sometimes I just have to like get it out of I'll put it in another room because we're getting streamed with so many channels.
So much.
It's text and Slack and email and voicemail and
like I get it, but I'm like, ugh. Like why? You know, it'd be nice if all my emails came into Slack and I could answer my emails through Slack.
Well, and I'll eventually answer them and then let you know. It'll just be like a personal assistant.
Hey, by the way, I took care of this for you. Yeah.
It'll be awesome.
Yep.
So I want to get into exploring different types of civilizations. And there's a renowned physicist, Michio Kaku.
Michio Kaku.
Yeah. And he did, I'm going to let you pronounce this, the scale.
Yeah, the Kardashev scale.
The Kardashev scale. And Carl Sagan, they've tackled the future of our universe and civilizations. And they kind of gave an elaborate and intricate framework of material progress.
Boring.
Whether we're looking at atoms or whatever.
It sucks. They only did material progress.
Yeah.
And they assume society only develops materially and not spiritually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, we're gonna make our own scale, a spiritual scale.
We should
HDL scale.
We should make an HDL fucking scale.
I think we should. We have to.
We actually have to do this now.
Yeah, I think it should be part of our
the spirit of the coursework.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
This is awesome.
Where are you on the scale?
So I want to get into these. The Kardashev scale was developed as a way of measuring a civilization's technological advancement based upon how much usable energy it has at its disposal.
So let's think about us right now on Earth. What do? We run our systems off of petroleum.
Dinosaur
poop, things that become fossilized over time, right? And then you mash this stuff down, put pressure on it, liquidize it, and then refine it, and then burn it. It's fucking
pretty rudimentary.
It's so
and we've
dumb.
been doing this for a while.
A long time. And then we've only started to move into wind and solar. But solar is limited, one, because of how much solar energy can actually come onto the Earth, how many panels we can produce, right? Which is then also going to be limited by the amount of physical material we have to build solar panels and how much space they can actually sit on the planet. And with the wind farms, there's only so much wind on the planet. It doesn't have unlimited wind.
Well, it's also, like we've moved into electric cars and all that. There's only so much lithium, and then the way that it's getting mined is unethical. I mean, any energy approach that we have, is besides you talk about geothermal, which I think is really interesting.
Yep.
I've done a lot of research on that. You have to. It's super badass. You guys should look that up. But there's so much on the atomic side of things. I mean, just besides building weapons, there is nuclear power, and we could use that. It creates waste, but they're getting good at the waste, and the hopes of that. What I've heard and listened to on nuclear physicists is the hopes of the waste is getting smaller and smaller, but these new like fourth grade or level 4, nuke facilities. What I like about it is they said probably 100 to 200 years we would know what to do with the waste, because we're already starting to kind of figure it out a little bit. We don't have to get into this real heavy, but
no, I want to get into it right now. We shouldn't use nuclear tech until we know how to manage the waste. It's not like, we'll figure it out later. Let's stockpile this shit, which we do in southeast New Mexico, and just leave it here for a long time. Or stockpile it up in Idaho, in the mountainside.
Or you go to Sweden, and that people don't realize, but that whole area, the Norwegian countries, they're all nuclear.
Yeah, they're all nuclear. And France, all nuclear. What happens, let's just be really quick about this, and then we'll move on to the next thing. With nuclear technology now, we go through a fission process. So during radioactive decay, of whatever the object is or the isotope that you're working with, it releases two things. It releases heat and emission of a radioactive particle. And when it does that, there's actually a depletion of the matter. Like some of the matter, because it's unstable, it's having a reaction, is trying to go to a place of being stable. So it's leaving.
Yeah.
So the matter depletes. So until we in our future can find a time where we can actually rematerialize the radioactive material, means we won't have the waste anymore.
Right.
Okay. And that's a technology we need to perfect before we would go and continue to use more and more nuclear technology.
Well, it's so funny. Even now, they're having this huge thing down in Florida where they're getting tons and tons of seaweed. Have you seen that? It's on the news. So it's like they have satellite imagery of all the seaweed coming, and it's just piles and piles of the seaweed grew. It was like a perfect, not perfect storm, but like the temperature in the water is a little bit warmer, and it created all this red seaweed. And they're showing like these satellite images of this patches. I mean, like miles and miles of just solid seaweed.
Sounds about right.
And we've talked about this before on the podcast. I think we did a couple podcasts on this with Tartle's podcast, is taking seaweed and then turning that into fuel.
Oh, you can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100% you can.
So it's like, okay, oh shit. Nature just created a whole bunch of fuel for us. Awesome. Let's go get it. And
thank you.
And use it. Instead, it's just piled on the beaches and it stinks.
Yeah. But we're still type 1. Yeah. Because the thing is, we're looking at the energy we have as a limited resource. Now, if we had fusion technology, it's a little different. But here's the thing. This is why I'm such a big proponent for ultra deep geothermal. The core is a fusion process. You have the biggest fucking fusion reactor in the core of the earth. Drill down deep. Keep on fucking drilling. And when it gets hot, let it boil just these points of water and turn generators all fucking day long. Totally clean. What do you get? Steam. Great. Thanks a lot. It's not like the core's shutting off anytime soon.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe we'll move to a type 2 or 3 civilization by the time it shuts off.
Yeah, and I want to get into these just real quick.
Yeah, sorry, I was on a tangent.
Yeah, I love it. I love listening to those. Type 1. So types of civilization. Type 1 designation is given to a species who have been able to harness all the energy that is available from a neighboring star, gathering and storing it to meet the energy demands of a growing population.
That's type 1?
Mm-hmm.
So we take the shit from the star at type 1?
Mm-hmm.
What's type 2?
Type 2 civilization can harness the power of their entire star, not merely transforming starlight into energy, but controlling the star. As such, gas giants can be utilized for energy.
So we have like what? Giant material systems that float around these suns, and it's just like sucking up the energy.
Well, from what I heard, I listened to Michio Kaku on Joe Rogan. I can never say his name. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, Jason the Butcher.
This is like one of the most famous physicists out there. That's where Joe Rogan, when he was funny, he was talking. He's like, I'm sitting here across from like this brilliant guy, and in high school he built like this huge reactor in his he took like miles and miles of copper. He was like 16 years old.
Yeah.
He built this huge antimatter. It was just machine. It was just crazy all the stuff he's talking about. And it's like Joe Rogan's like, holy shit, this dude's smart.
Yeah, that guy's wild.
Yeah. But I think it's so funny because he was talking about in a cultural sense, type 1 to type 2, like he was talking about type 1 in the sense of like English would be, you would have one main language.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, it'll be English. Like if he's looking at, he was trying to look at the future of what we are now,
okay.
You don't have borders. It seems to be more of, and then you have like cultural, like you'll have like EDM is a global music.
Yes.
So he's like, whether it's hip hop or rock or whatever it may be, or it seems to be going in the EDM section, but an AI is creating music and creating, entertainment and stuff. But he's like, that will meld us together, and then once we get culture melded together and it becomes like a global culture, then he said the technology will be right there. He and I like the way they approached it because I thought that was really interesting.
It's a cool way of talking about it.
Yeah. It's like, you're just looking at it. We always get so caught in the tech and we don't realize and this is the spiritual side of things. We don't realize the human and what the intent of that is.
Absolutely. And that's why, who was it? In the White Sands incident, when he was
Daniel Fry, that's Elon, or
when he was speaking with Elon, what did Elon say? He said, "You'll never truly advance unless you advance spiritually first.
Mm-hmm.
Your technology will reach a maximum And that's it.
And that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's at its maximum, and then that okay.
And so until we switched from third to fourth density, we're probably not going to be in any of these civilizations. Type 3, listen to this. This is really cool.
Yeah.
Whereas species then becomes galactic traversers with knowledge of everything having to do with energy, resulting in them becoming a master race. Cybernetic augmentation, flesh and machine is a single organic entity.
I feel like that would happen sooner.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I don't even think you need to harness the sun to be so advanced in like space travel.
Well, I know fifth and sixth densities uses the sun.
Yeah.
So, and they travel through the speed of light.
Yeah. Do you know what? Has anyone ever taken Hubble Space Telescope takes like X-ray images.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't anyone take them of the Earth?
Oh, that would be interesting. Well, civilizations probably are.
Yeah, I'm curious though. Why haven't I seen an image of that? It's like the first time they came out with night vision goggles, and the wavelength they were tuned to, people are like, "What's all this shit flying around in the sky?" The soldiers are like, "What am I looking at?" They had to take them back and then retune the goggles. You've had NVGs. I've worn them before.
Right.
They were huge, bulky things on the front of your face. It's really cool.
Right.
It's absorbing light photons, but a very specific spectrum, which allows you to see at night. But they were very sensitive. So the guys were outside like, what the fuck? But point is, actually, I don't know what the fucking point is. What I'm saying is that like, I want people to take a picture of the fucking Earth with the X-ray ship, because I feel like we're missing something. There's probably other energy there. I want to see the Van Allen belts.
Wouldn't it be funny if they actually see the peeps that are living underneath the Earth?
Yeah, and you know what I mean. Like,
there's like civilizations underneath there.
Holy shit! Look at all this. Look at all the people around there, like these beings and shit around the Earth. You know what I mean?
That would be so.
That's
awesome.
my point. There, point's done.
Yeah, but cybernetic augmentation, flesh and machine, single organic entity. We're on our way to there. Well, that's going to happen. I just watched a lady today walk for the first time, because she had the skeletal suit on, and she was crying and all that stuff. And then you see the blind people, where they're putting, they're having people be able to see. Mm-hmm. So we're already getting augmentation.
It's already correct.
We're cyborgs because of our phones. I mean, they're hooked to us. Like, don't have your phone for a day and see how you feel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a technology that's hooked to it. We're embedded.
Yeah.
And this young generation, the next, the Gen Ys or whatever they are.
It's just a fabric of what we do.
Yeah, it's just a fabric. Type 4 civilization, listen to this.
Yeah.
Would almost be able to harness the energy content of the entire universe. And with that, they could traverse the accelerating expansion of space. This is Star Trek shit. Furthermore, speculation suggests that advanced races of these species may live inside supermassive black holes.
No one's living in a black hole. We can observe black holes.
Yeah.
The gravity is too strong. It pulls material matter apart.
It pulls like planetary universes.
It rips them apart.
It just rips them apart.
Nobody's living in it. That's a stupid part of the scale. It's unreasonable.
And then type 5 civilizations are suggested to be advanced enough to escape their universe of origin and explore the multiverse. We're kind of there, I think. I mean, we're not there, but we're understanding that there's dimensions and
cool.
Like there's alternate. I mean, mathematically, we figured that out.
That's cool. That one, I think the timing and staging is off on this, but that's cool. I can see that.
Yeah, the multiverse is there. I mean, obviously,
Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, yeah.
No, if the math shows it, I mean, what do you got? If it's multiple universes or it's multiple dimensions, it's got to be there.
Well, think about this.
It's dimensions of time, really.
Well, think about this. I mean, they've already with the collider, they've already known like they can send something to a different dimension, like an atom. It's like something physical
physical
matter.
And then it pops back in.
Yeah. So obviously it's going somewhere.
Yeah. They had studies of this too. There's a guy in Arizona. They were doing some studies on gold, like white gold, like the gold powder. And they said when you heat it up to a certain amount, it just disappears. It phases out of reality. And then it pops back in when it cools down. Really fucking cool stuff. I remember looking at the reports and the charts essentially and the spectrographic analysis. And
that's where I don't think we're going to see like an outer space invasion. I think we're going to see a multi-dimensional. I think there's more aliens multi-dimensional.
Yeah, you know why we can't see them? Because they're shifted in a different dimension.
Well, dude, I didn't even realize how bad our eyes are.
They're horrible.
to foreseeing things. I mean, we have animals that see way more broad colors, just the color spectrum alone.
Yeah, they got more rods.
We're walking around like you get into like ophthalmology and stuff like that when they talk about it. When you look at mathematics and what we're actually seeing, we're walking around. They said blind. Like there is so much more that we could see. Like there's a lobster or something like that, some type of shrimp or something, I don't know, that can see like 23 times more colors than
Imagine
we
us
can.
in the
23
future.
times more.
Imagine like genetically modifying ourselves to be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like your children's children have like the lobster eye, like the aspects of the lobster's benefit implanted in them also.
Well, I think and I'm always weary with plant medicines and stuff. I want to take this into a spiritual direction, then we'll be done. But, and I've heard like warnings of this, and everybody kind of sees the same thing, when they go into ayahuasca or DMT trips or whatever, and they see like, these little beings or little elves or whatever. And that may be a different dimension. But my thing is it's become such a pop cultural thing. Oh, you've gone to Costa Rica and done ayahuasca.
It's trendy.
And if it is plant medicine and if something like that, I just don't like to personally, this is just me personally, I'm not judging anything. I just don't like to take something external to try to hack something. I want to have my catalyst and my learning because I know that I have a higher self.
Yep. And
that is a sixth density being that is not going against my free will, but is, if you want to say Jason in the future or whatever, that is, and if you want to call him God or whatever you want to say, I mean, there's so many different terminologies on stuff, but I know that higher density being, that higher, do you see what I'm saying?
I'm getting there. Yeah.
It has more answers than a plant in the Amazon jungle.
Yeah.
So why would I rely to hack something, and whether they're going to a different dimension or whatever, or their brain is just reciprocating things?
But what if you're not ready for it?
That's people's gotten really screwed up on LSD and all that stuff.
Think about it for a second. You weren't ready for something. You didn't have the answers. You didn't take the time to figure it out.
Right.
And someone throws shit at you. Right. You don't know what's the truth or what's up from down because you haven't had enough experience to understand the experience.
Yes. Yeah. There you go. That's
you're actually not prepared for what you're receiving. And because it's so mystical, because it's so huge, people are like, I can't really just like describe it, but it changed my life. You ripped open your fucking mind and you moved into an area that exists, but you were hopefully unprepared for it. You really weren't.
Yeah. The spiritual, you haven't done enough catalyst work to even understand what's going on.
Your mind drips its own DMT.
Right. Yes,
so it
does. Yes.
Take your own internal steps. Don't take if you're always going to search for something external to learn something internal, you are going to do the wrong thing every time. It doesn't align. If you want to learn something internally, learn it internally. You have to search internally. It won't be found on the outside.
Well, and also for me, it turns into a religion because it's like, you'll hear people, it's my 16th time I've gone to Costa Rica. And it's like the only time that they have spiritual enlightenment is in that moment that they're experiencing that, whether it's 8 hours or 12 hours where they're puking their guts out and they're seeing a jaguar on a tree that's talking to them and telling them, shitting themselves and telling them, that they need to, forgive their mom or whatever.
Yeah.
But you can be self-aware enough to where you don't have to have a jaguar talk to you.
No.
You can start looking at things that are for real in your life right now.
Yeah.
And say, why am I get so frustrated with my partner?
Yeah.
Why am I so angry towards my kids when they do something wrong?
Confront it when you're not in an altered state.
Yes. 100%.
Confront it in a state of your normality and work with that rather than something that's totally out of bar and you're never going to even have touch with it because you don't live it every single day.
That's so good. That
what I mean?
That is so right on.
Fuck the Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
Deal with this right now.
Yes. Deal with what is in front of you because that's what your higher self is wanting you to deal with.
Yeah. You're just attaching your identity to something else completely.
And I think it's just an escape of, I don't want to say escape of reality, but it's an escape of the responsibility that you have
to evolve and think on your own.
Yes.
You're saying I need this plant to tell me how I should live. The plant has to give me the experience. You're already wrong right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
If you actually thought it through, you'd never even have to go. You don't need it. It's unnecessary.
Well, the lesson that you learn is going to be the lesson that is for you right now. Like you're not gonna
people are gonna
skip to
say?
401. You know what I
No,
mean?
you're not. But you know what people say? But maybe that's the experience I need to have. Oh, now you're just rationalizing the approach towards this material thing to go on a trip.
Well, I mean, when you look at civilizations, ancient civilizations, whether it's ecstatic dancing or whether it's they have the holographic breathing thing,
Mhm.
whether it's or whether you're in tune with like the animal spirits, whether you're Native American here, we see that, or Mayan culture, they're drinking blood and sacrificing people to get into this different dimension.
Yep.
You see this down through civilizations. We see the same thing that's happening now.
Yep.
Where we need a ritual, where we need to, and it always turns bad
every time.
It's you look at everybody, and I'm not shitting on any cultures because the conscious level was at that time involved. But you look at native tribes all over, whether they're
everywhere.
I watched The Northman, awesome movie,
great film.
I'm reading a book now on Cheyenne, the Cheyenne Native Americans, the tribes here, and stuff. Ruthless, absolutely. Everywhere you go,
totally ruthless.
Everywhere you go,
yeah. And guess what?
Africa,
they all got their rituals.
They're all drinking stuff.
There's always fucking bloodshed or something crazy going on. But it all boils down to the same thing every time. It falls apart. It's degenerative every single time.
Yes. And you don't have to dance to, you don't have to go to Burning Man or I hear this all the time. Like Burning Man, it's it's a fabricated fake reality. It's synthetic. It's not real. We have the luxury to be able to build a city, and it's cool. I get it. The whole idea of unity and having fun and be hedonistic and, everybody's like helping each other and you have to build this and take everything apart and the environment. I get all that, but that just turns into another religion.
It is a religion.
And now it's like an elitist religion
well put, Jason.
With people that are wealthy, and then they get to only have these religious experiences. And we've had this
credit card hippies.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always remember the story of, and it's so sad when you look in the Bible, because, I've studied that pretty extensively. When, Judaism back in those days, how it was you could pay big money when you went to the temple and you could sacrifice a lamb.
Oh yeah.
Or if you were poor, you had to go around like the back corner and the back, like part of the thing.
Where they're like throwing bones and shit.
And you get a turtle dove.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, you got the turtle dove, it's kind of, and you go to like Sedona or Austin, Texas. And it's like, well, how many ayahuasca trips have you done?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you do yoga? Do you meditate every day?
Oh, you don't grow saguaro cactuses in your yard to get your own peyote?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's kind of like this scale of lesser than.
Oh, you haven't hung out with this guru or this shaman?
Yeah. Well, and it eliminates it all whenever you understand. And we talked about this last podcast when Sadhguru says the book's inside of you.
It's always inside.
That's all you got to look at.
Yeah.
Just become more self-aware of the book.
And
that's the right manual.
And then everything else unfolds and becomes so beautiful. You don't need a plant to make the world or have that experience.
You don't need. If you want to go to Burning Man and have fun and listen to great music, awesome, go. But that shouldn't become your religion.
No, but people make it their religion. There's always some attachment. They need a dogma. They need, an ideology.
A tribe.
A tribe has to be sectarian. We have to seclude ourselves or isolate ourselves from divisions of society. They're like, oh, we're unifying, but it's really not.
So we'll close on this. How do we, as humans, how do we gain unity?
It's the only way it's going to happen is through love, and love in the sense of understanding, not in the emotional sense, where I literally understand you as a human being. I understand where you're coming at. You have your own experiences that you are also trying to evolve. I don't care about your skin color. I understand you for you. And I'm here because I'm curious and I want to learn. And the more I learn from you, I can learn to myself. If we can develop that learn, teach, learn relationship, we're going to skyrocket to a point of unity. But we have to be curious. We have to be open. We got to let our guard down, and we have to really, truly want to learn and understand the other. We have to. Otherwise, we'll never find unity. We'll continue to shoot each other, speak languages that are always immensely separate, and we'll never have anything that's truly loving.
That's awesome. Go to higherdensityliving.com. We have merch on the website. You can just click the shop button. By this time this podcast comes out, we'll have it all done. We're doing courses here pretty soon.
Yes.
We're going to have a community for $11.11 so that everyone can be a part of it. If you can't afford the $11.11, send us an email and we'll have a conversation with you. And because we want everyone to be a part. We're a not-for-profit. We're a 501c3. So when you give, whether you're part of the community or whether you buy merch,
it also helps everybody.
Yeah. So we thank everybody that gives to us and supports.
And what I like about the community is that we can deep dive.
Yes, 100%.
We can really go deep, multiple things on, a specific topic. And everything we're doing here it's all auditory.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be building a lot of visual stuff. So you can actually, if you're a visual learner, we'll be building this stuff out so you can see what we're talking about. You can see the applications of it. I'll diagram it out. I'll walk you through it. I'll explain it. It'll literally feel like a teaching lesson.
Yes. And you're creating symbols. I mean, you've just created the one on our logo here. So, through our teachings, we'll have different symbols that you've created and we can go through. Symbolization is hugely important.
Yeah.
So it's a huge way that we learn as humans. It's just the way we've evolved.
I think we did like a multi-part thing.
We did like
on symbols.
we did like 4 or 5.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, it was awesome. But just go to higherdensityliving.com and appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much, everybody.